Chase, how's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. And real quick, just to show people, Chase Dudley, director. I've had him on before, and we had an amazing conversation. What we talked about, honestly, I don't remember because I feel like me and you recorded twice together, and one of the episodes was on my computer crashed before I can even let it go, and that was like the really
Oh,
awesome conversation. This is like before the whole live, way before the live thing.
oh yeah. But I really like the live aspect of everything, and I really like the background of your layout, man. It's really awesome.
Thank you, man. I actually got to credit my boy Aaron, Aaron, aka Dreams. He made this up for me.
Yeah, that's great.
Some stuff up. Yeah, he does what is it? Photography. That's the word. He does photography and then of course editing and all that with Photoshop and all that fun stuff. So he made this up for me. So shout out to him. But again, man,
Yeah,
glad to have you here. It's been what, about 2 years, I think.
2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 years. 'Cause we talked not long after I wrapped Beast of the Field, and we shot that fall of 2018.
Yeah.
It's been a good minute. Time's really flown. So
Holy crap. It really has. It really has. So how is everything though, man? Like how are you
well,
first and foremost, and then how's the filming going?
Well, the filming is going unbelievably great. It's just really good as any artist to create again, with the pandemic, just everything closing down and just kind of, staying in your homes. This really gave me a lot of time to reevaluate which film I really want to do. You know, it's just crazy because, you know, I got so many projects that is pushed towards me, and I read so many fantastic scripts. Sometimes it's really hard for me to pick and choose which project that I want to shoot next, because I will have something in my mind that I want to do next, and then something will come along, and I'm like, "Ooh, man!" And I'll bug my wife and my friends, which one sounds better, and I'll pitch all ideas into. But like, I just wish I had like the Marvel train going, where I can have like so many people doing, like several
Mm.
projects at once, but that's not the case yet. So
I I love that you said that, man. I love that you said it's not the case yet. Speak that into
yes,
existence.
well, I'm a big firm believer of manifesting what you want into your life. I do firmly believe in the laws of attractions of what you seek and what you think about. The universe responds in vibrations, whether it's positive or negative, into your life. So I'm a living proof of that. Me and my wife started off from literally funding everything ourselves into meeting amazing people like Shanna Curtis and Sue Kriegel, that really believes in us and doing whatever it can to really help. Will Wells is really awesome. Just meeting people who really truly believe in what you're trying to do, and they help you out in any way, short, shape, or form to make sure that happens. I've been very, very blessed over the years.
That's always a great thing. Like, for one, the most important thing, which I think is a great message for everybody out there, believe in yourself. Don't even worry about people believing you up, but believe in yourself. But it's also an awesome thing once you do have that belief in yourself and you're actually shooting for it, and then people believe in you and they see how you are and they're like, I really want to help this person. Like, I'm gonna help this guy out any way I can, whether that being donating $1 to a film, spreading the word about a film, just anything in general. And that's one thing I love about the horror community. I'm learning that more and more over the years of being more, not some, well, I guess you could say more involved in it as far as doing a podcast for it and
They
having,
are. Horror community is just something
yeah,
beyond any other genre. They are a lot more forgiving. They just want to be entertained, and just as long as you be creative, they will ignore every flaw that you make, and they will still love your movie. I mean, look at Halloween. It wasn't the prettiest looking film, but over 40 something years, that film still holds up very well as one of the
oh,
best horror movies of all time. And John Carpenter had a very micro budget shooting that film, and but people still to this day love that movie. And I do 100% agree with what you're saying with believing in yourself, because I'm a big firm believer. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you convince anybody else to believe in what you're trying to do if you don't believe it? It all starts with you.
Exactly. And I know there's times in life where you have, your down moments. Everybody has those down moments and self-doubt where you need those other ones to kind of pull you up. Or
Yeah.
and there's one or two ways, because some people, they need that tough love, like get your ass up and kick you in the ass. And some people like, yo, listen, come on, get up. I'm gonna hold your hand and walk you through this. And some need
Yeah.
a little, some need one or the other. Some need a little bit of both. I feel like
I take a little bit of both too, because my wife, she's been my business partner since 2015, and she is a very, very hard worker, motivated woman, and she is 100% proof. She's not watered down. She's going to be real with you. She's going to give you her honest opinion, and um, by me having her in my life with that straight bluntness, really have uh, made me and shaped me into the man I am today. Whether it's the blunt, cold-hearted truth, it stings at first sometimes, but you really want people in your corner really being honest with you, not telling you what you want to hear. And we all have aspects about us that are great, but we also have aspects about us that we can work on.
Oh yeah. And I'll add on to that. I'll even say the ones that are doesn't mean they don't need work. That just means,
Oh, absolutely.
that for me, that just means, well, in my opinion, I won't say for me, but in my opinion, that means that it's just easier to come by, so to speak, for you. Like
Mhm.
easier for you to achieve, easier for you to come by, but you could still get better at it. You could be great at
Oh,
it, but
yeah.
you can get better at it. But you're right about the whole, like, there's certain things that people are just like, look, this is what you really need to work on, like, and I can help you with that because I'm good at this. You
Yeah.
suck at this piece.
Well,
And
see, and the thing is, with filmmaking, that's really all it is. You are really taking a whole bunch of talented people from all kinds of different departments, and you're utilizing their talents, and you're meshing it together for the greater good. And filmmaking is literally a team sport, and that's something that I have always acknowledged. That's why when I work with actors, like when I talk to Robert Mukes and Amber Dawn Fox, which I love working with Amber Dawn Fox, but
she's awesome.
I love talking with actors and letting them know that I understand how I gave you this role when you're doing all the studies and you're to the mind of the character that I hired you to play, and how important that is for you to make your notes on things that you see of the character. And I always ask people that are playing a part, how.
Oh, I think he froze for a second, people. So it didn't boot him. This is right when the conversation's getting really deep, too. Really good. But I'm going to give him some time. Matter of fact, let me tell him. You froze on my end, man. Try going out and coming back in if you can, if it'll let you. Little technical difficulties, people, but nothing we can't handle, right? Ah, hello out there. Oh, he'll be back, people. And just in case he needs the link again. Or no, it's in his email. Yeah, you got the message. Said peeps just having hang on. Yeah, we did, man. See if it'll let you click the link again. I'm still in here. So if it'll let you click the link, just see if you can click the link again. This is like the love-hate relationship we all have with technology. But you know how that goes. We all know how that goes. But the show will go on. My guy Chase will be back in a couple of minutes. Just wait and see. I need some more damn water. It's hot up here. How's the weather, everybody? Wherever you're at. I hate this damn glare, but see if he comes back. Close that. Excuse me. Give us some more time, peeps. Don't worry. We're going to get this going again. Oh, damn, it's hot up here. Everything is great, man. Thanks for stopping in. Whoever is watching and listening still, again, having a little technical difficulties, going to give it a few more minutes and see what happens. But everybody go check out Press Play Streaming Studios. Awesome podcast. And yes, we will be working together in the near future. So go check them out. Hey Phil, what's up, man? How's it going? Go follow Phil's creepy videos. Awesome videos all the time, people. He always has some dope content out there. Go follow him on YouTube right now. And again, like I said, I'm gonna give this a few more minutes, some technical difficulties, and see what happens. But I can let you guys know what's going on later on while we are waiting. Later on this evening, 9 o'clock Eastern time to be exact. Over on Popcorn and Pints, we will be reviewing these two movies, The Notebook, which was long as fuck, and Rocky. That'll be fun and interesting. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Yeah, same here, man. I watched it last night with the wife. Um, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I gotta watch it again though, just to kind of really like get it down, you know. Watch it, see if there was anything that I missed from the first time watch. That's one of those movies I feel. Well, this universe is one of those universes. These movies, this whole Conjuring universe, I feel is one you gotta watch, especially if you're fans of them. Of course, you gotta watch them a few times just to kind of really, really get everything with it. And yeah, but I do agree that it was a good movie. It was a good movie. I just want to watch it to really get my thoughts on it, see if anything changes, if I like it more or less. It is, as far as like the Conjuring titles go, I like the original, the first Conjuring the best. I like them the way they came out, first, second, and third. As far as the Conjuring titles go, not even the whole universe Conjuring titles. Oh, I was gonna say something else too. Rewatch it Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, I may do the same around that time, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, I might try to do the same. Watch rewatching it again on Monday or Tuesday. Chase is gonna try to come back right now, guys. Excuse me. Just to be safe. Sent. Did you watch the Conjuring universe in chronological order, or did you watch them like as they came out, or both? I did both. This I don't know if this fan's making it better or worse. Also, I may be gaming tonight at around midnight Eastern time. A few, my peeps, Zombie Army 4 at midnight. That'll be fun. Tune into that. All right. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me again. More water. Oh man. Time is it? I'll give it till the half-hour mark. So about 6 more minutes, more or less, a little more, if anything. Oh, he's back. Awesome. Hey man, welcome back. I think. I hope. Oh, I can't hear you. There's a settings wheel at the bottom. You might have to change your sound settings.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I love technology, but sometimes it can be really annoying.
I said something similar to that. I was like, it's like a love-hate relationship.
It is. Let me log out of all of my Wi-Fi's on my phone because I done got the highest version of Wi-Fi on my computer or on like for Spectrum, and it just still seems that it's not enough for how much we all go through internet. So just give me 1 second. I'm logging out of my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes a difference. I logged out of that Wi-Fi, and now I'm logging out of this one. I had my second laptop just in case I couldn't get this one back on there. So I was doing this damn interview one way or another.
I see, and I like that, man. I like that.
Yeah, I'm more like hands-on with my phone. My wife is more computer savvy,
Yeah, I was
so I had to call her for support.
nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong, especially with the conversation we were having earlier. Earlier.
Oh yeah. So I am logging off all Wi-Fi's, and we're not going to have this issue no more. Oh man, I was scared. I was like, "Oh no, this would be the day." I looked forward to this all for the last few weeks.
This would have been our luck too, because like we were saying earlier, the one episode we had that just
Mm-hmm.
my computer, like I hit you up like a day or two, like, yo, I'm so freaking sorry. My computer just turned it on, blue screen,
Yeah.
gone. I'm like, son of a, why?
Oh no, I understood. And now that I think about it, it didn't happen until you mentioned that.
That's true. We're not going to do this anymore. Great
Yeah,
things happened after that. We all,
absolutely. Like I said, the laws of attraction.
yeah, what's up, man?
Hey, John Henderson.
Now I got a quick question. Did you the Conjuring thing?
Yep.
You watched the whole universe, right? Including
I watched the whole universe in chronological order. I did like it a lot better than the first time that I did watch it, but The Conjuring 3, I did like it, but you can. This goes to show how good of a director James Wan is. You did not feel his presence that really made the first two films unique. And although I did like the third film and a lot of elements onto it, but it did not hold a candle to the first two.
oh, definitely not, definitely not. And it's something that I do like. Part three, I have to revisit just to kind of get that second viewing, that second feeling of it.
Oh yeah, because I mean, sometimes you like that was like The Quiet Place too. The first time I watched it, I did not enjoy it as much as I did the second time.
Mhm.
I like to personally watch movies alone first before I go with my wife and kids. Because a lot of times my kids constantly ask me questions, and I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
trying to figure this out myself. Let's watch the movie, and I'm sure it's going to explain it. But they ask a million and one questions. And,
Mhm.
but John Krasinski, well, I mean, his vision was just incredible, and just the fact that he's more of a comedic actor, and you're starting to see this rise of comedic actors are starting to direct some pretty dark stuff, and they're doing really good at it. Jordan Peele, the same. The movie Get Out was just absolutely incredible, and it's such a realism movie that I can relate to because I've always dated outside of my race, and just like if I was to experience that, it was just the universal moments of meeting, your significant other's parents and wondering how they're taking it in, and it's just always an awkward presence. And then if you've seen the things that was in the movie Get Out, that would make it even more significantly odd. I just thought Jordan Peele did such a really wonderful job with that movie.
Oh yeah,
It's really one of my favorite movies in the last 10 years.
yeah. It was good. It was good. It's something I have to revisit myself. And then as far as us, I got to watch that all the way through because I watched it like my wife had it on and I caught it like from the middle to the end. So I got to.
Oh yeah, I can never do that. If it's a movie that I know I didn't watch and I want to watch, I would just completely ignore it. Man in Black, laser flash myself. Won't even bother because I don't like. I like knowing what's going on, and I like the ordeal of knowing from start to finish and how I process. And that's why a lot of times, if I can, I would watch a lot of movies alone. Like, and especially the good thing is now. One benefit of the COVID-19 is like a lot of movies are now being released on HBO Max, and a lot of the streaming services are, I'm able to view sometimes at home, and sometimes the cinematic experience would never die, nor it would ever compare. But sometimes I do like watching movies alone at home versus watching it in a theater full of people, because sometimes things that our people are doing, whether they go into the bathroom and coming in and then sitting down, or they check their cell phone, there's a certain amount of things that just kind of draw me away from the movie that I like to focus at home.
I hear you there. Now, when my wife getting a little feedback.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, ooh, please let that be on my end.
When my, when my wife, we usually try to go for matinee times because there's like nobody.
Oh
Number
yeah.
one, cheaper, and then two, there's like nobody there, especially like the young. I feel so old when I say this, but the teenagers, the jerks that are talking through the whole damn movie because the parents paid for it. I'm not gonna go on that rant.
See, that's what I'm talking about because there's just a lot of things with movies that you got to pay attention to the tone,
Yeah.
the text, the subtext, the certain shots and the angles that they wanted you to feel psychologically. There's just so much psychology that goes into film that I think a lot of times it really overlooks most audiences, and that's why I'm very selective of who I really watch movies with. Like my best friend, Kenny Combs, we usually go to a lot to watch a movie by ourselves, and we just kind of take it all in because we don't talk to the movie. It's kind of like the hidden rule you just don't do.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I, like, especially for horror, because we love horror, and then the other genres as well, but especially for horror, we'll just sit there and just watch a movie and all, just like wow. And the thing about the whole Conjuring universe is the majority of them pre-pandemic, if not all, I believe all of them, we went and seen in theaters pre-pandemic, and that's what we talked about the pandemic. It was like it ruined that tradition of it was for Conjuring and for
Yeah, I've seen every one of them at the movie theater, and I'm very blessed to say that I've seen absolutely every one. My favorite movies out of the Conjuring universe in chronological order, without a doubt, is the very first Conjuring.
oh
It was without a doubt just, oh my God, just James Wan just really captivated me. And it was one of the very first movies in a long time of his that really scared me. And it was really, really well done. And he should be very proud. And then, of course, I love The Conjuring 2. And then followed behind that is Annabelle Creation. That Annabelle Creation was just something magnificent. It was the strongest film out of the trilogy, in my opinion. And it's funny because a lot of people say it's a sequel, but it was more or less a prequel. So,
Creation.
yeah, it was very much a prequel if you think about it. But of course, I don't know if everybody's seen it, so I don't want to go spoilers there. But it definitely took place before the first one.
Oh yeah, and that's what I love. That's what I loved about this universe, and like watching it in the chronological order, because then you have a different appreciation for the whole
You
entire.
do, because the first time I seen The Nun, you saw me on a comment on a post about it. I wasn't a really big fan. I didn't disrespect or bash the movie because I'd never do that as an artist. But when you told me to watch in a chronological order and I went back and watched it again, it did make it a lot more refreshing and I enjoyed it a lot more. So I was glad that you recommended that.
I got to credit my wife who found the list, and she did it last weekend. I believe she watched all of them, and I was just like bouncing. I didn't have time to sit and watch them all. I was like out and about, so I worked from home, so I watched it this whole week. I was watching them. For you guys that are in the Horror Research 30 group, you've seen me posting them every day, watching at least one or two a day. Yesterday, I think I went through like, what did I do? I did Conjuring 2, Conjuring 3, of course, La Llorona. I did at least 3 of those movies yesterday.
Yeah. See, yeah, I wish they would have got the guy who directed Annabelle Creation to come back for The Conjuring 3. I think he could have done. I think he probably fed off James Wan as the best it could. I just, again, not bashing anything. I just think that the director for Annabelle, The Conjuring 3, it just felt like a whole different tone because even if you watch Annabelle Creation, it felt like more like a Conjuring movie than the other Conjuring movies in the universe. And, I just kind of was hoping to feel more of the Conjuring, and I think the reason why another thing is too my anticipation was highest was because the Conjuring 3 was long overdue. I was expecting it to come out before Annabelle comes home, and then the pandemic, so we were holding on another year. So it was one of those things. It was a really long wait, and then what we got, I just was like, oh man, it's kind of like looking at that menu at Burger King for the triple Whopper, and it looks all juicy and moist, and You just want to eat it, and then when you get it, it's all shriveled up. You're like,
Yep.
this is what I got.
I didn't order this.
No.
But it's one of those things. For me, I'll say The Conjuring 3 and La Llorona were the weakest two out of the whole universe. And I feel like the tone of the stories were just different. They were just
I think them trying to be different, but you know, in order to be a Conjuring movie, you kind of have to follow a certain theme and tone. It's like it's no different.
Yeah.
Art makes an album. The album kind of goes along with the tone of the album name. And I just felt like the tone was completely. It felt more like a drama movie, more so than a horror movie. It didn't feel like a horror movie at all. You know, it just. I thought the anticipation could have been a lot more built up, and but again, it's not the director's fault. Of course, sometimes the studios are a little too impatient. They want to pump out the sequels, and I think they really should have just waited for James Wan to be to direct it. That's what I think that they should have done. If it were me, and I want to really make sure the sequel definitely is better than the other one, I would have waited and just probably waited till he was available. I'm sure they could have worked together, communicated with that when he was available again.
I agree. I would just hit through the whole series. Listen, I don't know how many of these movies you guys want to do, but we want you to do them. Because
it's just so weird because it seemed like in the 90s it was the sequel curse where the sequel was just really hard to beat. And now sequels seem to be doing a lot better. Even in some cases, some sequels are better than the first ones. But now it almost seems like that trilogy mark is the pivotal point of where no one can just seem to produce it well. It's very hard. It's weird. It used to be the sequels, and now it's the trilogies.
I'm in the middle with that because, again, I mean, I guess if it depends on how you're looking at The Conjuring. Like, if you're talking about The Conjuring, if you're looking at the universe as like a series, kind of, sort of, just with different titles, or a franchise, just saying that with different titles.
Yeah.
Versus because I know there's Conjuring 1, 2, 3, but they're all part of that one big. So I count that as like a big franchise type of thing, similar to like the Marvel movies. Like, yes, I know there's Iron Man, there's Captain America, but it's one big franchise. And some stories, of course, you like a lot more than others. Some stories just like I watch it.
Movies is definitely the Captain America trilogy. Out of all of the Marvel films, the Captain America trilogy, each one significantly outdone the other, and what they got planning on doing now is just very phenomenal. Just the fact that if you look at 20 years ago, none of this would have been possible. Just what Kevin Feige done. And then you got to really give credit to Steve Jobs for selling, Marvel to Disney. So if it would have never been for Steve Jobs, we would have never gotten this amount of awesomeness. So, so I do agree. If you look at it as a series, like some, it's kind of hit and miss. I just wish that some movie, it just seems like that they're almost told not to better the first two Conjuring, because it just seems like the Annabelle creation, we gotten so close, because the ending of Annabelle creation, it probably was the best ending out of all of the movies. When you really realize how that ties in with the first one, and then all of that, you're just like, holy moly. But yeah, and then I went back and watched the first Annabelle, and I was like, man, this is pretty underrated.
Yeah,
it's just one, but I do appreciate what they have done as a series, though, because in a horror element world, it really hasn't been done as much. And I mean, as a fan, it's pretty neat to see, though, how they're putting this all together.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Just to wrap our conversation, the universe, watching it in that chronological order just makes it so much as a whole. It makes it so much better. And then because when you do that, And especially if you do it like the way I'm not saying the way that I did it as far as like every day, but you do it close together so you don't forget things and you see things popping up in other movies. Like, oh shoot, I've seen this in the past 2 movies. That's so dope how they kind of
Yeah.
it's like each one they show a certain scene for a few of the movies, and each movie goes a tad bit deeper until that movie to it shows you that whole scene, and that's awesome.
Oh,
Now,
yeah, absolutely. And it's human nature to miss things. And then sometimes you'll go back as, watch everything in chronological order. And then something that may not make sense on that previous movie, you go back and now that they actually have more, you might actually miss something. You're like, oh, man, so that's what they were setting up.
yeah.
So I 100% agree with that.
But let's get back to what you do, though, man.
See, I can talk movies all day, and that's one thing I love watching the show.
I don't know like how your schedule is during the week, which we could talk behind the scenes, of course. But I would like to get you on for a movie review with us one of these days. We do Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9:00 Eastern time.
Yeah, and no, that would be great.
I have we have a horror wheel. Just spin the wheel. Whatever movie it picks is what we review. It's just easier than like, yo, what do you want to review next week? So we came up with a wheel. But yeah, man, it'd be great. I would like to get others out there, horror fans in general, but it would be cool to get some more like directors on here because it's one thing to talk to you guys about like making a movie, but it's another to see your guys how you guys break down just a random horror movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially if it's something you've never seen before. That I'm just like, how?
It's like it's really so weird how you process things, and especially as an artist, it's really hard to go back and watch anything as a fan because you cannot help but think on how you had done it. And it's like a blessing and a curse in itself. Because I see how a lot of people just really enjoy a movie and they don't think nothing of it. I think on a lot of things like element wise and like, does that really work? How would I have done it? The tone. And then those made me think about the processes of, how I go into a movie, like a lot of 80 movies, how somebody would just get like brutally murdered. And then like 5 minutes later, that same character that is witness that is like cracking a joke and laughing. Like, do someone really act like that when somebody just got like brutally murdered? So it's just about like tone, and I think that's the reason why I love psychological thrillers, which is kind of my cup of tea when I usually direct a movie, because I get a little bit of element of horror as well as your more dramatic. So me, I feel like psychological thrillers kind of have more of a process of breaking down more of a dramatic story, but then having horror aspects into your film. You get a really good blend of both. And I think that's kind of, I didn't even realize I had that that psychological tone until Brandon Long from Pop Horror wrote an article on me, and we were talking about how I really seem to really enjoy doing movies based off of human evil. And then I was like, I didn't even know that about myself, but he is 100% right. And it's really nice that sometimes somebody will notice something that you don't even know that you're doing. Because we as humans, we are so complicated as a whole on how we are. And I just feel like psychological thrillers is so many topics you can touch on that just raise a very interesting story, because humans, we're pretty complex in a lot of ways,
Agree. Yeah, we are. And just really quick with your, as far as like your psychological thrillers, I like those. I do feel like they do tell the better stories than my favorite. My favorite is just slasher, but that's like what I feel like that's what we were all introduced to for the most part when it comes to horror, especially like the '80s stuff. And that's always going to be my favorite. But I know they're not the best movies.
The 80s were just really it's a whole different time period. What like you got the Freddy's, which that was a really nice new era of horror movies. I was so afraid of watching Freddy growing up that my mom, my brothers, my dad, it took like several people to hold me under that bathtub because I was convinced Freddy was going to reach up and pull me under. And they still bring that up when I go to family events and stuff like that, of how upset everybody was and how drenched I made them a day of just because I was terrified that Freddy was going to get me,
And see, that is one thing I do miss a tad bit about being like that childhood imagination, because when you watch these movies, they genuinely scare you. Nowadays, you might get you might jump from a jump scare or whatever,
Oh yeah.
but you're not scared. You're just like, oh, whatever.
No, I think a lot of filmmakers today, um, it's kind of more playing it safe. And I noticed like a lot of movies today is kind of like, especially I noticed with the Disney live action movies like the Lion King remake, it's just like less risks that are taken so much today, as opposed to us growing up and you're watching stories that really went there. It was just a lot more creativity involved. And like today, you're seeing a lot of the same styles, the same formula, the same things. And like the only thing I feel that like today about filmmaking that's better today than maybe 20, 30 years ago is movies look really pretty, but back then in the day, I would take a really interesting story that might not be the prettiest over a movie who looks really pretty that just is a very safe looking movie. And about like that's kind of like with my films. I love to take risk of what don't work. I like to not do something that that I mean, of course, it's almost impossible to do an original idea. But what you could do is take an idea that maybe have been done, but also go into another direction with it and see if it work with that. And I'd rather for my film to do that and not work as well versus they look just like another movie and then me saying I'm paying homage to that because that's what inspired me. And it's like it's okay to be inspired, but I feel like if you're gonna I don't like looking like I copied somebody else's movie. I tried to be my own unique voice, and I think that's why Christopher Nolan, I think that's why James Wan is so unique as a filmmaker today, is because he does. You can tell the movies that he's inspired from growing up, like The Exorcist and The Poltergeist, but he still puts his own spin to it. And I tell you a movie that James Wan did that I even liked better than The Conjuring, and I told this to everybody. I don't care what nobody said. Insidious to me was a better film.
See, and you're not wrong for your opinion, even though I like Conjuring better, but both great films.
Insidious, I like the ideal behind it that it's not necessarily a haunted house or paranormal. It's literally a dimensional aspect to it, and there's astral projection and stuff like that. That to me is more interesting of a story because I felt like us as movie watchers, we really haven't explored that aspect of a story as much. And I felt like the first two Insidious was very interesting in that aspect of wanting to know a little bit more about that. I just felt like the story was just really, really more fresh, and there was just things about it. The Conjuring, I would admit, was scarier, but I liked the story of Insidious. It taught me a lot more.
Okay, yeah, no, I do see what you're saying there, and that I would agree with you. The Conjuring was scarier and funnier with the clapping thing. And I say this because I still remember watching it in the theaters with my wife, and just seeing that, I was laughing so hard because I just knew. You see the hands, and
I laughed, but my son, he's going to be very upset for me for leaking this. He peed his pants at the movie theater on that part, and it took him a week to sleep in his room again. He literally slept in my room and would not sleep on his own. And that reminded me of my experience when I watched Poltergeist, when the tree grabbed the little boy. My grandmother like grabbed me at that exact moment and just swinging and fighting, and I thought there was a tree getting me. So it was just really neat seeing a movie do that to my son, and just, that they every time we watch these movies, they're terrified. They still have.
Speaking of your son or children, I don't know how many you have. Like getting them into horror, was that hard? Because I know there's some kids that
it seems like it was instinctive for them. It's like they were like, "What are we watching tonight?" And then, like my daughter's more of a horror fan, more so than my son. My daughter can't get enough of it. She doesn't jump. She gets like scared of some things, but most of the stuff she's just like, "I need to." So it's like she can read it really well, and my son will be more of the chicken, more so than my daughter. But they love horror movies.
That's awesome. That's so awesome because
It's like an incredible way to bond.
Yeah, it is. I was asking that though because I don't like from when I was growing up. I'm 35, so I'm sure we're around the same era ish. But when we were growing up, there was more kids that were into horror movies than now, or at least I see now. But I'm not 100% sure on that. And then it's awesome when I hear like when I have people on like, yeah, my kids love horror movies and this, that, and the third because I think it's such an awesome genre that can tell so many different stories. Like I feel like horror is the only genre that can go in literally any direction and not be wrong. And you may be like, why am I watching this? But someone's gonna tune in for it.
Absolutely. And then like it's funny because like I try to make sure when I do watch it, I try to make sure I have a clear mind because if you watch a movie and you got it on your mind or if something's bothering you, you really may not like the movie as much as like having a clear conscience and then watching something at the same. Because there's been quite a few times where I was not in the best mood and I watched the movie and I'm like, I didn't like it. And then like somebody's like, you didn't like it? You should really check that out. And I watched it again. I'm like, yeah, what the hell was I thinking? You know, there's been plenty of movies where it's been like that.
For me, it's been more of high expectations. Like the move. So, and here's why I am getting better and better. Besides podcasting, of course, podcasting definitely helped me with this. But ignoring social media because what happens?
Social media is the worst when it comes to
hyping
a movie up or watching somebody else's theories because you can watch it and you can really get into that and get caught up into some expectations. And then when the movie actually took its own way, you may not appreciate what they were doing as much because you've been hyped up to believe that this was going to happen. And then they went with this idea. And it's like we kind of grown into a generation where nothing is satisfying. It's like we all have some complaint that we're looking for a film. And that's why, you know, the last few films that I've made, I haven't really, I kind of watch on how much I hype a film or because a lot of people who's going to launch a movie is going to watch it. But I try to really limit how much I hype something because, of course, it's just, you know, one of those things. A lot of times when I really haven't really seen much promotion of some things and I go in not knowing what to expect, it's been some of the best experiences. That was actually my experience with Get Out. I didn't watch any reviews or nothing.
See, that's good though. That's true. Though. Like going in, I try my best to go in with zero expectations, especially because I'm a podcast and I review movies. So I'm like,
oh yeah,
I go in with zero expectations and then I give my honest opinions. Like if I hate a movie, I'm gonna say I hate it. I try my best to be positive about it because I know it is an art form, but I look at it like
it's really hard to make a movie good or bad. One of those things is like it's so important to really get people's inputs, especially agree on if they feel like something works. And
like for me, what like I said, I try my best if I can to pull positives out of movies. There's some I just cannot do it, and I don't want to. But I'll never. Here's my thing: if I love a movie or if I hate a movie, I'll never tell anybody not to watch that movie because I didn't like it.
Absolutely, yeah. I hate when I see that on IMDb. You gotta watch this movie. It is awful. It's like it's your perception. And the thing is, that's the incredible thing about perceptions. Your opinion is not a fact. It might be valid to other people, but it's still at the end of the day just an opinion.
Exactly.
You can't be mad at somebody for their opinion. And that's why I love my best friend Kenny, because anytime we agree or disagree on anything, we're like, okay, if we disagree to disagree. And that's the end of it. And he's like one of the very few people I can do that with. Some people, when you don't agree, they still would argue their point for like hours in. And it's like, okay, we're still not changing each other's minds. So why are we continuing to talk about this?
Like, I get that to an extent where it's like you're having a conversation, especially on a format like this where you're having a conversation. Like you don't want, you know what I mean? You want to go back and forth, but it's like you don't want it to be an argument through the whole freaking conversation or episode.
I love to debate, but of course the conversation gets a little hostile, not really an argument. I would debate or articulate my point of view, but if it comes to screaming and shouting, I'm not that guy. I usually okay, all right. Well, I'm glad you feel how you feel.
Exactly, and it's funny too, though, man, because it's like, again, going back to the whole social media thing, how that really does embed in your mind. You're like, again, you go scariest movie ever, best movie ever, and you go watch it.
and it's no real right or wrong answer. Now, my scariest movie I experienced growing up, in my opinion, that really scared me, probably Candyman.
Candyman, I could see that.
Just meeting Tony Todd in real life, he's an incredible, gentle giant. But he tried to offer me some candy along with my kids, and he definitely passed. He was like, "Nobody ever wants my candy." I'm like, no, man, we watched your movie. Your voice couldn't have been deeper and more creepy.
The voice, man, that voice creeps anybody out. Now, the one movie that did it for me as a kid that I remember, this is one that I remember. I'm not saying it's the only one because I'm sure it wasn't. Creepshow 2, The Hitchhiker. Thanks for the ride, baby.
I only seen the first one.
Oh man, you've never seen The Hitchhiker one?
No. Yeah, I need to check it out. That's crazy.
There's three. There's The Hitchhiker. There's one with a Native American. I forgot what it's called. I think Chief Woodenhead. And then there's one that's in like a body of water. It's like a blob thing in the water. For the stories for that, but I think you would really enjoy it, honestly.
Okay, yeah, I love checking out new movies.
And I'm not gonna spoil the movie for you, but I'm gonna tell you my issue with the one with the blob. There was a 70-something Camaro in there, 77, 78. Here's what bothers me. People, you guys know I love muscle cars. I don't like car abuse in movies. Leave animals and cars alone. Everyone else is fair game. They're fair game. They're people. But when they so in the, all I'm gonna say is they leave the radio on all night. Car battery. Battery's gonna die. Leave the door wide open. Like they don't give a damn about the car. Terrible people.
My favorite '90s horror film is easily Scream, the very first film. I took the horror movie into a whole new level, and just that's when cell phones really started becoming more profound. And just the experience, that was the movie that really was like, I want to tell stories like that. That was just an incredible experience. 13 years old, seeing it in a movie theater. You said you were 35. I'm 38, so 3 years ahead. Yep.
So for me, and I know a lot of people love Scream. I never liked it. Like I respect it for what it did for horror because I know I know I was young. I was only 10 then, but in my adult years now, I know how horror was kind of on the decline around that time. So I respect what it did for horror, but I was never a big fan. Like to me, Scream's okay at best. I'll watch all of them though. Like when the next one comes out, I'll go and watch all 5 of them. But it's just one of those ones that it just didn't grasp with me. But that's the thing I love about movies and stuff is that obviously there's gonna be stuff that, again, you love that movie, me not so much, but there's not like a issue over it. Not like it's just one of those things that either connects with you or it don't.
I mean, it's all opinion at best, and
yeah,
I respect how you feel with me. I love the first one. For one, I love the wardrobe and the costume. I just thought
the wardrobe with the costume I enjoyed. I like that.
Yeah, but the sequels, of course, start to get a little bit more preposterous, and you were like, how in the world are they so reckless but yet so efficient of not getting caught? And I think that was the thing with the first one, and especially the uncut version that probably a lot of people haven't seen. But it was a little bit more graphic, and it showed a little more details that wasn't in the theatrical or in the DVD and VHS release. But I loved Scream for what it was, and I just loved how it kind of also tied into some of the movies that we loved growing up, and it's kind of one of those things. Just everybody in Scream was great. Jamie Kennedy, Nev Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, even Rose McGowan. Everybody was just really on point in that movie. Just the characters was really relatable and stuff like that, because kind of I've known a lot of people like that growing up. It was just a great film, I thought.
No, I respect what it did. I actually now. There's many disrespect in the film. I'm not going to say it was terrible and all that, but I will say I'm going with the first one because that's when it was more of a spoof of it. I liked Scary Movie better than I liked Scream.
Oh yeah. that was the best out of the spoof movies too, because all of after that became like a very popular thing. And again, once you have like an original idea like Scream, of course you have a lot of films that come out similar that's not as original and not as good. It's kind of like Halloween opposed to Friday the 13th. Like, I love the success that Friday the 13th had, but to me, Friday the 13th was never as superior as the Halloween movies. That's just my opinion. But I love the Michael Myers much more than Jason Voorhees.
And we're opposites on that. Jason's my favorite slasher, but it's because
Jason would easily beat him.
Oh yeah, of course.
But when I always heard who would win between them two, I'm like, why is this Michael Myers get destroyed?
See, for like, I think what it is with me, with the connection with the Friday the 13th franchise is growing up, it was on the Friday the 13th. Growing up as a kid, it was always on TV, and it was on the USA Network, and it was on for that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yes, of course, it was. All the good scenes were cut out, but it was still cool to see Jason on screen. And then when I was old enough to have to see it on tape or to get it on tape, or no, I purchased it on DVD when the DVDs first came out for Friday the 13th. They had a little box set.
Yeah,
I remember getting that. Watched it that whole weekend, and I was just like, I mean, I've seen the real movies before then, but it's cool to get to see those movies. Like, you see them on TV as a kid, then when you get to see like the VHS version. People, for those of you if you're too young to know what a VHS is, it's a tape. You put it into a thing called a VCR. You have to rewind it. Yeah.
You keep it for years and watch it to death and never get scratched. The other thing, sometimes the VCR eats the tape, but
I miss it.
I will say this: the first Friday the 13th was amazing, and I felt like if it was me, I would have continued on with Jason as a kid
for a little longer, or just in general.
Just in general, because dying an 8-year-old as a kid and then coming back a 6-foot-something monster is a bit of a difference. but it was one of those things. And I just think Jason would have been more terrifying as a kid. Like when he came out the end of the first one and drug her under the water, that was creepy.
Yeah, I agree.
And just the way he looked and how he just looked like he's been in the bottom of the lake forever. I felt like that would have been more intimidating any day opposed to when he was an adult. He just never intimidated me as an adult, like the way that Michael did.
I could see that, like creep, because it's more of a creepy factor. I'll say this though, just to make a little funny of it. As a kid, do you remember those little dinosaur things we would get? They're like 50 cents or a quarter out of the little machines, and you put them in water and they expand. That's what happened to Jay. That's how he became. He was in water for all that long. He just expanded. You see?
Yeah. No. And it's like everybody has their own cup of tea, and this is not me knocking off because they are far more successful than me.
Yeah.
It's just I couldn't get into the Jasons like I did with the Halloween. Just even with the Halloween theme. I even like the newer Halloween. The direct sequel. James Short and Green. I really like that one, like that scene where they come to the mental asylum and they hold up his mask and he just never budges. I just felt like Michael Myers was just as creepy as he was in the original first one, and that was probably the best direct sequel, like soft reboot I've seen.
I agree with. I can agree with that. Like I do enjoy Halloween. Don't get me wrong. And it's just, again, it's that era where you had I call them the big three. You had Jason, Michael, Freddy, and people still have debates about who's the best and all that other stuff, and just the best movies.
Skill-wise, without a doubt, you can't compare any death count to Jason. Jason had like 100 and something deaths, and he was just.
And there was 2 movies he wasn't even in. He didn't kill in the original Friday the 13th or in Part 5.
Well, the original one, that's right, he didn't, because I thought he did kill the girl when he
because she ended up in the hospital.
Yeah. So you're right. I know, that's crazy. Freddy actually has the least count out of all of the 3. But I did like Freddy. Story-wise, I feel like out of story-wise, the Nightmare on Elm Street was probably the more superior out of the 3. I love the originality to it, and Robert Englund was just really incredible. Again, like I said, he made me afraid to go to sleep. And love the Dream Child. The 3rd one was easily the best.
You know what? with Friday the 13th, what was I going to say? That's one story though. Like, you know, in the beginning of the first few, they're always sitting by the campfire telling like the mythos or the legend of DICIN.
Yeah.
I never get tired of that. Like, I just, because it's one of those things where I feel like it'd be fun to sit around a campfire telling that same story. Of course, minus all the other events that happen after. I don't want that shit to happen to me. But just the story is so cool.
No, that is relatable. That is something that, you know, me and my wife and kids do every fall. We go and go by campsite and tell stories, and it's just that feeling that I think is very relatable. That I think we all can like kind of reminisce of things. It's kind of like a childhood memory in a sense, almost engraved. Like if you were ever Boy Scouts or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing I do like about the Friday the 13th aspect, just the Boy Scout aspect of, you know, when I used to go out and camp and stuff, I used to be afraid if, you know, Jason's going to catch me in the middle of the night or something like that. But my all-time favorite horror movie of that time, I'm kind of a minority in it, but I absolutely love Child's Play, the very first Child's Play. Tom Holland and Don Marcini was just a great movie. Just everything about it and how they shot it, using Ed Gale as the you know, stunt double for Chucky for some of the human movements and stuff like that. Just everything they did to really create that movie was just really, really good, because they had nothing but issue after issue making that movie in a pre-production process, because the original name to Child's Play was supposed to be Batteries Not Included, but Steven Spielberg was directing a movie at that time called Batteries Not Included. So, and then just the drafts of how many scripts they went through to get the story that they ended up going with, which the newer reboot, Child's Play, kind of went with the original idea that Don Marcini was doing. So they kind of stole his idea.
What did you, really quick, what did you think about that, the remake?
It's a good movie separately, not looking at it into original, but it was a very emotional reboot because I kind of really felt like I was on the side, and it was a very uncomfortable feeling to experience, because as Don Marcini got the green light from Sci-Fi to do his show, he was doing more, and he was literally going to do more sequels. MGM kind of basically did a remake as he was in the middle with his franchise, and it kind of made it awkward because it was hard for Don Marcini to market his film, and it kind of took away from the thunder that he was doing with it. It was like they didn't really get the blessing from him. They kind of took his ideal, and it was just I thought very not so noble move. But again, all of that aside, the movie was not bad. I did like it in some ways, but it does not hold a candle to the original. Not even close. I did like what they did do with it. At least it was a remake that they tried to do their own thing, but it just wasn't as good as Tom Holland's Child's Play.
I'll add on to that though. I'll say I did enjoy the remake as well, and I like here's what I like what they did with it too, because I feel like they were trying to draw it more towards maybe teens / early 20s, people that didn't grow up on the original player, maybe people that have never seen it, and they're doing with the stuff with the technology because that's what's in now versus us playing with toys and stuff. And I did like that about it.
I did like that. But I think my son made the biggest legitimate point to the movie. He said he felt that Andy was a little too old for that toy. If they would have probably went with a younger Andy, I think this would have worked a little bit better and more believable.
I can agree with that.
Everything else with the movie, I did like. I liked everything they did with it. It was, to me, it wasn't one of those. It's this. Versus the old remake, it felt like it was its own film, and there were some elements about it that I liked, but it was its own standalone remake, and at least that they didn't completely copy and paste some remakes like some remakes have.
Well, from what I heard they couldn't legally. They could, like, if they would have there were certain things they wanted to do but couldn't, or else they would have gotten sued.
Yeah, like Good Guy Dolls, they had to call it a Buddy Doll. They couldn't name it a Good Guy because Universal owned those rights. And it's crazy. Like, yeah, it was a one thing. I guess if I was a studio, I probably would have passed. And especially, I felt like because majority of the fan base was loyal to the original
Yeah.
franchise. And again, it was kind of like a bad divorce. You're deciding which parent you want to live with.
I mean, let's go back and forth. I want to with it too.
Absolutely.
But I want one last thing I want to say about the Child's Play remake or reboot, whatever people call it. I think it is better than a lot of the sequels.
See, and I agree with that because to me, out of the Child's Play franchise, it was the very first one. I love the second one, and I love the third one. And after Bride of Chucky, which was not as good as the original trilogy, but it was still a respectable note. Seed of Chucky, the Curse of Chucky, and the Cult of Chucky. I don't even really add it to my.
Your
I don't.
watch.
Yeah, I don't really. It's just.
Yeah, I get it. And the funny thing is, like, I honestly enjoyed those two, the last two, the Curse and what was the other one?
The Cult of Chucky. The Curse of Chucky I liked way more than the Cult of Chucky. The Cult of Chucky, I love the story aspect to it, but the last two that was done, it was more. I was told by Alex Vincent that they didn't do any CGI on Chucky, but it's really hard to not think that they didn't because it did look a lot of CGI that was added to it. But he was on set and he said there was no CGI. So again, he was there. I wasn't, but that's the way it looked to me. I just didn't think it looked as well as the first trilogy. And just when you're used to certain production value that is put into the film, and then the last two films does not look like that they pumped the money that they did before. It just looked more like a fan made film rather than the actual films.
And then,
That's my take on it.
no, I agree. Speaking of films, I know you have some things in the works because I've been seeing
I
it.
do. I have quite a bit in the works. The one thing about the pandemic that did the one positive thing, it did kind of help me reevaluate and structure what I wanted to do. I have locked into the works, and it was just an amazing experience. Just when I got back on Facebook, because I did take a little while off of Facebook. It was just a very toxic year from just the election and just seeing everybody argue back and forth between politics, and then you had COVID-19, which was its own separate entity and downer. I had a major surgery, last year that so it was just so many going on. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to take a little mental reset, and of course, I got tired of not creating, and it really started to sink in. And then I'm like, I really need to get back. So of course, I made a few phone calls to see what was the Kentucky regulations of going back to work, and it really wasn't anything that you couldn't do. No, it's just more like, so us as a company, we have to take precautions and stuff like that. And so we're doing all of the things on that aspect to take proper precautions and stuff. But now that everybody's vaccinated and everything, well, I wouldn't say everybody, but majority of people. But Kentucky doesn't have a policy where you have to be. So I can literally work with anybody, and as long as we're following the CDC guidelines, we're good to go. But that out of the way, Locked In is like no other script that I have done. It is like a real good story about friendship and just it's like two women that are like from opposite from society. You have this real church going girl from the other girl's stripper, and they're sitting in this. They're like captive, and they're literally are being tormented by this guy who is literally uploading videos and content from the dark to the dark web, and it's just kind of really going into that element of human trafficking and what is our biggest problem that we face at the 21st century, the biggest crime of this, how a lot of people are doing this right under our nose, and it's just people are going down left and right, and it's just crazy that a lot of people aren't really truly aware of how deep and how common it is for human trafficking. Like, I mean, had videos of kids getting snatched like out of thin air in broad daylight, and it's just it was a movie I really wanted to make, but I wanted to play it like I wanted to do it in a respectful manner, and it's kind of a hard way. This is a very tricky film to do because if you do it wrong, you kind of can send the wrong message and thinking you're glorifying. But the hard reality is I have a daughter, and that's very terrifying to know that there are so many people that are in on it that are getting busted left and right, and then there's so many people who are untouchable that have been doing this for years. And so I just thought that I really need to tell this story because it is something that is absolutely relevant to today. And I feel like there has been films in the past that have touched on it, but I don't think not the way we are going in on it. Like, we are really going in, and this is not going to be for the faint of heart. It kind of was the struggle that Tarantino had when he was filming Django Unchained. He was very uncomfortable of how to tell the story about slavery in a way that hasn't been told before. And he's like, the only way you can really do it is just by doing it. So this is what we're doing. And the first person that I really got a hold of was Robert Mukes. He was saying how he really wanted to work with me, and I was just in heaven. The fact that Robert Mukes wants to work with me. And I was more than excited. We almost worked on Beasts of the Field, but it just didn't work out. But we've been talking from day one, and he read the script and he absolutely fell in love with it. And he was like, this is, he has 2 daughters himself, and he was just saying this is a story that really needs to be told. And he's been really working super hard with his acting coach on everything, and he's coming back with questions. And seeing him in House of a Thousand Corpses and watching him on Westworld and just watching him on NCIS Los Angeles, and I would never thought in a million years I'll be at the point where I can say, hey, I'm working with Robert Mukes, and it's just incredible. And then the people who are going to be acting on screen with him, Amber Dawn Fox, I worked with her in Beasts of the Field. That girl is a very hard worker. She is just always like promoting, and then being a mom, and then graduations, and then going to conventions, and then she wears so many hats and she does so many things, and you would never think that she's stressed. She's just constantly pushing and pushing and pushing, and I love her work ethic. And just to know when the camera rolls, she goes Amber Donox to whatever role she's playing. And, she's so prepared. She always carried these notes. And I tell you, she wasn't an actress. She would be an incredible journalist, because that is what she reminded me. She's like, okay, so I had a question about this character. So do you want this or not? And my second question is I'm just like, man, this is great. Like, because as a director, you want people to think who you cast as serious as she does. And she is just like so great. And just all of the movies that she has made that I've seen her in each movie, she just ups the game, and it's just like she's going places. And just all of the success that she has accomplished in the last few years and how quick she's coming up, she's just destined for greatness. And she just kind of has that Hilary Swank vibe to me. But yeah, working with her is just incredible. And there was an announcement that I did want to say for your show that I wanted to give you exclusive, and who I've been talking for the last year about getting to score our film. I've been in talks with Rocky Gray, the band, the drummer from Evanescence, for last year, and we have finally worked a deal to where he's going to score the film, locked in, and so it's going to have that really dark theme. I've just been a big fan of the group Evanescence. It was always my favorite band growing up, and just to really be talking to somebody that you just absolutely was just you just looked up to him and just loved his music growing up, and then him reading the script and just saying that I really feel like I can really score this movie really well. I mean, just it's a great day to be a filmmaker when you are really starting to reach out and being able to talk to the people that you really always wanted to talk to and work with growing up. It's just, I am so blessed. You know, me and my wife have always worked super hard to get where we are.
See, now stuff I love hearing stuff like that. And thanks for breaking that exclusive on Horror Research 30, by the way. That's awesome. People, you will get exclusives. You will get exclusives here just like that. I think that's freaking awesome right there. And it's just like
I was wondering how I was going to announce that, but I was like, I really want people to see how excited I am to announce that I will be working with Rocky Gray from Evanescence, and just, I mean, feeling it and seeing some of the movies that he scored. That guy has talents for days. And you know, he's just a very humble guy. We've never known that this guy has toured around the world and just, you know, made some incredible music. I mean, that guy knows how to play those instruments. It's just, I mean, it's amazing. I'm so shocked and so honored at the same time that I'm working with him. And like I said, I was geeking about it a few weeks because it did not feel real.
that's really awesome, man. I definitely want to say congratulations to you on that. And I want to say he's also getting to work with you, which is a dope thing.
Yes, no, he is. I mean, he was very about the project, and everybody I've talked to about this concept, everybody, it's just like a serious tone that, you know, we're all talking about. And then Shannon Curtis, you know, I'm shooting at her dad's location, and he's just willing to build things for me that will really give the movie a much more sinister tone. And you know, talking to my special makeup effects artist and my DP, everybody, everything that I'm asking for and everything I'm wanting to do, they're just going beyond and over to really make sure that they get that for me. And my beautiful wife, you know, working 16 to 18-hour days just to really all of my notes and everything I'm wanting to communicate that with everybody else, so everybody else, you know, gets my vision, and just how important the pre-production process is, because the pre-production process is all about communicating and making sure that everybody is on the same page, that everybody understands the vision and the stories that we're trying to tell. This pre-production is just the big deal breaker that really makes it break a film.
Now, would you ever, because I know you like the psychological things, but would you ever do a slasher film, like a straight up slasher?
Yes, I would. I would. It just have to it would have to be right, and it would have to be the right feeling. And as a matter of fact, I really have something in the works with that. That I will talk about more in depth soon. But let's just say I just gotten the confirmation from the copyright department, and I will go ahead and give a hint, and it is called Widow's Web, and it's about a killer mail order bride.
Ooh.
That's going to be the slasher that I plan on doing. It kind of is more inspired by the movie Orphan slash Sorry, I'm Mary Axe Murderer, but more of a serious dark tone.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be interesting.
I'm very excited about it. This is a project that me and Lynn Maya Nugent, and now her new name, no, she's married now. Her new name is Ost, Maya Ost. Sorry, Maya, if I butchered that, if you're watching, but it was a concept that we came up with a long time ago, and it's just been super complicated of getting the concept and everything, because I really wanted to shoot the movie overseas for a cameo, like of how she gets here and all of that and how all of that happens, but it is so hard to get a permission to shoot a movie in China or in Russia and all of that good stuff. Yeah. So that being said, I don't think that's going to happen. I would probably shoot something like that in the studio where we can make it look like that. But,
what are you gonna do? Those movie tricks.
Absolutely. That's why I love watching Film Riot. Ryan Colony is really good at showing you how to make techniques and ways. Also, Studio Binder is a really good. I watch those religiously every day. I get up 6 o'clock in the morning every day, and I watch 2 hours of film documentaries and things that really help me as an artist. I love watching each director's, kind of their little take on how their process of making a movie. And I realized how much in common I have. There's three filmmakers that I absolutely love their process, and that is David Finch, Steven Spielberg, and Quentin Tarantino.
Nice. Is there a reason? Is there like something?
Fincher, I'm sorry, I left out the sure. David Fincher.
Is there something that you pull from them, or just
Yes, Tarantino, as far as the details and the story aspect, he is the best writer director in my opinion that's out there. Quentin Tarantino, just how everything, like how natural his conversations are and just his plots and stuff like that is just really, really phenomenal. Steven Spielberg, I don't think nobody as a director sets up the camera and make it just a normal scene as interesting as Spielberg does. And David Fincher, I love his truth in right and wrong in the storytelling, like Fight Club. My favorite movie that he did was Gone Girl. That was just like how he just captivate and isolate the characters, and all of his characters are really interesting, and like they kind of have like that that process with themselves of like right and wrong. They're not perfect characters, but they kind of go through a lot. They're so relatable that you can really watch through them. Like even watching Seven, Brad Pitt's character and Kevin Spacey and Morgan Freeman. It was just everything about that movie was just really good. But Gone Girl for me was just his best movie. It was just something about that movie that I loved, and it was probably one of my favorite movies that Ben Affleck actually acted in.
Oh, nice.
Besides Changing Lanes. Changing Lanes with him and Samuel Jackson was just really, really awesome.
Samuel Jackson's a freaking, that guy's just.
It's Samuel Jackson is Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
His best movie acting was Samuel Jackson, A Time to Kill. That was his best performance. Now, his most iconic character, Pulp Fiction, of course.
Oh, yeah. And he lets the motherfuckers fight in every movie. And the thing with Samuel Jackson,
see, but now that's kind of getting annoying though, because they're like, it's Samuel Jackson to say this.
See, I was just about to say the opposite. We're just on opposite ends today, man. Because I was gonna say somehow he always makes it fit, and I just enjoy that of it. But I do see where you are coming from with it being overdone. But I just enjoy it because it's just one of those things that you're expecting it. I'm always expecting it in the Avengers, but I'm like, he can't say it in this movie.
Well, the closest thing you got to that was Bitch Please. You flew to space.
Yeah.
But when I seen the new Spiral film, when he, it was like, you want to play games, motherfucker? I'm like,
how was that? I didn't see that film, by the way, but how was that film in your opinion?
It was a little stuff. It was kind of, I feel like it's a franchise that is being milked very hard. It just, to me, the Saw movies wasn't as interesting to me after the trilogy. There was a few Saw movies that I thought, like Saw 6 was really good. That was the best, like the closest to being as good as the original trilogy. But like now with all of the stuff that they're trying to add, I do like the cinematic aspect. I did think Chris Rock did a pretty good job in the movie. He did, because it was kind of really weird seeing him in a very serious role. He did put a different spin onto it, but it just doesn't compare to the original trilogy.
My next question to that is: do you think that movie? Do you think you'd have enjoyed that movie better if it came out closer to when like all the other ones were coming out?
Yes, because I think we kind of like now because Jigsaw came out 4 years ago. I felt like that they were a little too spaced out, and it's kind of missed this timing because it's a whole new audience, it's a whole new generation, and I liked when they were pumping them out every year.
Yeah, that's one aspect that I loved about that franchise is it was always around Halloween. They were putting out a new Saw movie, like you were saying, every single year. And then we had the Spain, and then after they put out, I forgot the first X amount. Then, like you say, Jigsaw just came out 4 years ago, and now this comes. If they would have put them all,
I feel like it missed this mark. I really do. Some sequels, sometimes they work out better that way. Like The Incredible 2, it was a really good time sequel. Although it felt it was way overdue, but it was still for almost 20 years later, it was a pretty good sequel. But some movies, especially horror, it just sometimes for the most part, it doesn't work. Because a lot of times there's very few horror franchises where it's seasoned well over through the years and they still can make films like that. But a lot of them that tried, they just don't do as well.
Yeah. I mean, what both mentioned earlier was, well, you mentioned earlier, sorry, is Halloween. They did a really good job. But again, they told the story from 40 years. It's like this is 40 years later, and it's a direct sequel to the original, which I do feel like they could have made that sequel after part 2 even. I know the whole
I did too, because I felt like the sequel of the original Halloween 2 was nothing that should have ignored. But I do see why they did do that, because they kind of wanted to get rid of the whole Sam Hain / the direction they were going, because the original Halloween 2 was setting up an era that kind of fell with the 4 and the 5 and the 6 sequel, and then they try to fix it with H2O and then Resurrection. Their franchise was all over the place. So I did like how it was just a direct sequel, and it took place right after, or it didn't take place after the first one, but it basically, the story wise,
exactly. It did an amazing job. It was
just phenomenal in that.
You know what's funny is I remember I was actually leaving. I left the con. Well, it was the last day of the con. It was a Sunday. Left the con, and we were about maybe 20 minutes from home. My wife and I were just like, "You want to just go watch Halloween? Like, why not?" Like, and what makes this even funnier though, right? So we went and watched that. Right after that, we went and grocery shopping. And the only reason I'm telling you this is because I called my one. He lives out in Colorado, but I called my one brother, and him and his wife. I don't know what they did during the day, but they went to see that movie and went grocery shopping like right after, because we didn't call each other to talk about it. And we're like, "Yo, grocery shopping with the wife. When I get home, I'll hit you." It's like one of those type of deals. It was one of those things where like I didn't call him, I didn't text him, I don't even think I posted about it until I was actually in the theater about watching the movie. If I did post about it, I really don't remember. Probably did, but it's just funny how certain things like that actually work out when, especially again, horror, and it's just like someone you grew up with that's into the genre as much as you are.
Oh yeah,
and then on them, it's just like, yeah, man, I literally just left the movie. I'm getting ready to go grocery shop, blah 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 blah, which is just still funny to this day. But that's the only sequel that I can honestly think of that I seen that I really enjoyed. That was, within, I'll give it like a 10-year mark. Like if it's a sequel after 10 years, you better knock it out of the park. You have to knock it out of the park.
Because you got a lot of people who are different. The one thing I really liked about the Halloween 40 years later was a filmmaker colleague of I never worked with him. I always wanted to, but he is Louisville native. Dale Miller. He done stunt work on that film, so that was really neat, and I was so happy for him that he was a part of that, because he's a big filmmaker. He's a big fan of Halloween.
That's awesome. You'll work with him one day, man. Just
Oh yeah, no, we communicated a few times of trying to get. I would love for him to do stunt work because he is really, really good at that, and he's an incredible actor. He's an actor too, so he's very multi-talented.
That's good. See, I love that. I like that too, and I like how you credit him for being a great stuntman, and then also being a great actor. I feel
absolutely
a lot of people who do the stunts don't get enough credit.
I agree, because he's actually been advocating why Hollywood and the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards don't even have a category for stunt. There's some stunt people who have died on production for doing things to make us to love the things that we see in movies, and they don't even have a department where they can be, the best stunt guy who almost killed himself go to. I do agree it does need to be more of a wider range of awards, and I think that is one that really needs to happen.
I feel like that, and I feel like horror needs to be a lot more respected when it comes to those big awards too. Not just its own.
Yeah, it's like horror movies are never taken as seriously.
But horror movies. And for me, I'm on both sides of that, because the thing I love about horror, besides the storytelling and all that, is that it's the outcast. And it's not like even to this day. I mean, it's way more popular now than it was then, to an extent.
Yeah.
Or, I won't say more popular. I'll say more accepted. I think that's a better word to use.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the Outcast, and I love that about it because it's like it's a whole nother world. It's not like anything else. It's not like any other genre of film. But at the same time, you can mix any type of genre of film in horror, and like I was saying earlier, and not be wrong. I'll give you a great example. This is a movie that you watch this show, you listen to the podcast. Terrible movie, but I freaking love it. Horror comedy, Thanksgiving. It's about a killer turkey. That's not going to work in any other genre where you're going to tune in and watch that movie. You're not going to watch like a Marvel film of like super turkey. I'm going to skip this one. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
See, the thing is that I feel like horror should be taken more seriously because everybody started out in horror. Jennifer Aniston, she started out for Leprechaun. And you had, Lawrence Fishburne, he was in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. You got so many great actors. Drew Barrymore, Firestarter. You got so many people who started off in horror to where they are now. I mean, horror is kind of a branch where everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, but majority of people have started.
Even if it's just Kevin Bacon, Friday the 13th, the original Friday the 13th. But you're right. You're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely, and I think that's an awesome thing right there. And it's like, it's just crazy because it's just like these big name actors were in these films, and it's something. Here's another funny thing about that too. It's something that I probably wouldn't want to see them in again, to an extent, because of. I don't like when they put big name actors in horror movies because it's like you already know he's going to survive. Like LL Cool J in any horror movie he's in. I'm not saying he's a bad actor because he's not, but it's like
he got like a clause of I can't die.
Which I get it.
Halloween H2O and he got shot like he did, and then at the end he's like, "Baby, yeah, I got a story." I'm like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly, and like it's just one of those things. It's just like I don't want to see those type of I don't want to see those actors in those type of films just for the simple fact of that being able to, like, it's like, okay, more than likely they're going to survive. When they don't, it's awesome. Because of the fact that it's so predictable. Like, okay, he's going to survive, blah, blah. It's the same corny stuff. It doesn't really matter what happens. Somehow he's going to survive. And it gets old.
To me, I would have been honored to come out with a really cool best scene.
Say it again?
I said, see me, like, I guess if I was someone like LL Cool J and I was playing the Halloween and like I was going to get killed off, I felt like that would have been more of an honor.
Yeah, me too. I'll say, don't let me die first, because
don't let me die first. But then I mean, even if I did die first, it would have been a classic Drew Barrymore and Scream. Nobody thought she was going to die first because she was the name that was on the top billing that you thought she was going to be in the whole movie, and she died on first. You're like, holy wow!
The reason why I say that, as far as in LL's case, is because of Black people always dying first in horror movies. Look, we had nothing to do. We're hanging out with our white friends, and boom, dead.
We've really been good about that lately, though. The last 10, 15 years, it really kind of died off once we acknowledged, yeah. I mean, if you get out. Oh, I'm sorry. Get out.
Thanks for the kind words, Jace. I'm guessing this is
Who said that?
It says Facebook user, but I'm guessing this is who said it.
Oh, Amber.
Yeah.
I love that girl. She is like an incredible.
She's awesome,
and like we click really well. Everything that I'm usually thinking, and I call and I would kind of giggle, and she's like, What do you got for me, Chase? Like she already know I'm thinking something morbid, but she is so she's like very much a team player. She really goes there, and she loves the challenge. That's what I love about working with Amber Dawn Fox, is that she loves the challenge. Awesome. She shot Piece of the Field, which still to this day was an incredible experience. Minus shooting that movie in the middle of a hurricane was an experience like no other. I have never shot a movie outdoors, for one, and then the movie that we did shoot. I mean, I shot outdoors, but not the whole entire film. Yeah, pretty much 95% of the movie at Beast of the Field takes place outside, and it rained every day but one day. And the first day, It looked completely different from the rest of the film, so we had to go back and reshoot a lot of things anyway because it didn't work. But just the fact that like all of the rain and working with Gregory Blair, he was such a perfectionist and so awesome to work with. And just looking at his credentials and then looking at his resume as a director, and he's an award winning. It was a little intimidating because, you know, I don't have none of those. I didn't have none of those credentials at the time. And you know, the fact that he was so humble and he did not treat me any different. And I went to him with ideas and stuff like, how would you do that? And he had a lot of great insight for his character Lester, because he was casted on very late minute. That was the scary part. Was a lot of the original cast. Other opportunities came and they took on bigger parts, and I literally was last minute scrambling through my phone on who to use. You know, Amber was a last moment thing, as well as Gregory Blair, and that was very scary. It's very different from this movie where I had all of this, you know, locked in stone way before I even went public announcing. But yeah, it was a lot of people I was going to work with originally, and then this didn't work out. But I feel like everything happens for a reason, and you know, Gregory Blair and Amber Dawn Fox really knocked it out of the park. I also loved working with Tori Beckham. This was his first two dramatic films. Payday was his first, and Beast of the Field was like, but he really he held his own ground with everybody. You would thought that this man had worked on many movies. I mean, his acting chops was on point, his timing, his deliveries, him being really into the moment. Tori Beckham was really awesome to work with. I worked with Patrick Allred before. I worked with him numerous times. Out of all actors, I probably worked with Patrick Allred more. I worked with him on Peyton's Burden, which was my interracial love drama. I worked with him on Retribution, which is kind of sitting on a shelf because we had so many audio issues with that. I worked with him on Payday, and then this movie. So I worked with him so many times, and you know, it's like we know each other so well. I don't really have to tell him much for him. I already know what I want to do. Keith Nicholson, I worked with him on Marvelous Mandy, and he was another last minute casting. And I was really worried because the role that I had him fill was one of the, like, if this role didn't work, it was kind of one of those things that was going to be impossible to do. And it's amazing how everybody clicked on set and how we were getting drenched on, and it was raining and no one was complaining. I really thought everybody's gonna be like, Chase, this is bullshit, you know, but everybody loved every minute of it. And we were just getting so much, so we were just all taking it in and loving it. One person I did get to work with that I've been wanting to work with for years is Ashley Nunez. She worked with on a movie with her brother called All Through the House, the best Christmas horror movie I've ever watched. I got to work with her, and she was just incredible. Just to work with her, and you know, I met her in LA along with her brother for actually this film festival that I went to in California. And they had a film All Through the House that won almost every award that was there, and it was just incredible.
See, I love hearing that, and I love how you're shouting out a lot of people. That's awesome that you do that. And
There's
Amber,
a lot of talented filmmakers, man, and I love to spread the positivity. I don't really understand why some communities where, you know, it's just a lot of trash talking one another, it's a lot of hating on other people's success, and it's like there's so much room for everybody to get theirs, where there's no reason to hate another person for what they have achieved and what they have gained, because they worked super hard. Nobody knows how hard these people work but the people them. And it's like, you know, I always hate when people say some things and you're just like you're like, man, I just got this new Lexus. Must be nice. And you're like, I worked all of these late nights and all these long hours to get everything that I've gotten. And you know, there's very hardworking people, so I cannot hate on somebody for all the hard work that they earn to get where they are.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I agree with you.
Will Smith said this in The Pursuit of Happiness. I got two words for you. What do you do and how do you do it? That is more me when somebody does something. I'm like, how did you do that? You know, and I will learn to try to do it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like it is kind of weird in the at the same time with being in the horror community as far as just podcasting. Like I see some of the issues with other podcasters, and then some of the issues with the indie film scene. I'm just like, I get now. Here's my thing. I get you don't get along with certain people. You're not going to like certain people. That's 100% fine. But then to post about
That's personalities, but no reason to bash them or what they have accomplished.
no, not at all. And the way I work is if there's somebody that I'm not cool with for whatever reason, and if it's something like that's I won't say serious to the fact where it's personal, but something where it's like, all right, I feel like this type of person kind of uses people for their. If I'm cool with you behind the scenes, I'm like, listen, be careful of this person because, but I'm not going to bash them on social media. I'm not going to do all that.
That is a whole different, separate entity. That's closed doors, and like I said, everybody. I have people that I feel exactly the same way, like what you said. But I won't go and never disrespect them publicly. I mean, there's even been some people where I don't even like them as a person, but I love their work, and and I'll give them a shout out. Again, you can still not care for someone, but still respect the art process of what that person has done. I mean, that's human nature,
Yeah. Very true. And the bashing thing, though, I find funny because it's like one day you guys are bashing each other, you hate each other, and then 2 weeks later, your best friend, I'm like, it makes you look stupid.
It does. It's kind of like a relationship on Facebook where you talk trash about that and you go single to relationship, single to relationship.
Yeah, it's like just keep that
Why
behind closed
talk about him, okay?
Exactly. Like it's like just yesterday you were talking shit about like the post is still there just yesterday, not even yesterday, a half hour ago. Make up your mind.
Yeah, I try to, and that's one thing I love about the people that I spend hang out with behind closed doors. My wife, my crew, like I do have in my life. I always try to make sure that I have people that are very positive minded, and that's not saying that we're all positive every day. It's almost impossible, but how you view life. In a positive manner and not play victim mode, but more of a fighter and push through things. I like being around people like that because those are the type of people who are going to really make you into someone twice as more successful than you ever dreamed of. But versus, being around people who are just super pessimistic about everything.
I agree with that.
Can't do it.
I can't either.
I gotta Lysol that shit, man. It's just get away from me. It's not my story, man. I'm gonna try. And at the end of the day, every day you wake up, that is the universe believing in you to push to that. So I try not to take no day for granted. Because,
I'm glad you said that because like my whole thing is I'm like for me I'm not saying I'm never down, I'm never mad. I'm genuinely, I'll say 97% of the time, I'm genuinely a happy person.
Yeah, same here.
What you just said is like when people are like, "Why?" I'm like, "We're having this conversation. I'm talking to you. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I have I have a job so I can help take care of my household and the family. I have a roof over my head. I have food. I have the necessities. There's things that I want that I don't have yet, but I have the things I need to survive. I have that. That alone is good. That alone is great.
Right, and especially as an American, I am 90% richer than everyone. I mean, like 90% of the world. And a lot of people would kill or die to be where I'm at, and I definitely don't take that for granted. I'm in a position where I'm very blessed, and I'm definitely very fortunate, and I don't take that for granted, and I definitely working very hard to where this telling stories for a living to me is just always something I knew I wanted to do even as a kid.
See, and I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome because like I like how when people get into stuff like that because of a passion, like it's not because of a dollar amount. Like, oh, I want to be this.
I don't care about the money. I love just telling stories, man.
Yeah,
the money is nice because we all do have to have it. But me as a person, the best things that I like to do on my free time is I love going walks in nature. I love reptiles. Anybody that knows me knows I have a basement full of reptiles. I have like 90 something reptiles.
Oh, damn.
I love going out in the creeks. I love just I just love nature. I love nature. It's just something about nature I just absolutely love. Just going to nature reserves and being in the country. I'm a big country boy. And I love watching movies on my free time. And I love being adventurous, you know, like just I'd like to try anything once. Not anything, most things, but kind of fly with that. Like, I don't know when people inboxing me weird questions, but yeah, like me and my wife was talking about. I would love to go skydiving. Never done it, but it would be fun. You know, it's just living. That's the whole thing about life. Is just living. And I love telling stories, and I think that's my favorite thing about telling stories is really reflecting life, because you know art imitates life. So I like telling stories that people can relate to.
I love doing stuff like this whole podcasting thing. I love doing that. Like I love doing the movie reviews. I love doing the interviews. I love everything about it because I like to interact and just learn about others, as well as showing whoever's
You have
watching.
the voice. You have the voice for it. It's like you were born to do this. You have the perfect voice for this. This is exactly how I will feel like. I guess. That's what it
Appreciate
sounds like. And that was weird. I don't know if you've seen that in my background, but it looked like that light kind of moved, and I was like, it's like a little conjuring.
That's a movie in itself, man. But
Yeah.
it's like it's cool because I love meeting. You know, like I said, meeting the new people and then just reviewing movies with different people because you get a different aspect or a different perspective from different minds, and that's what I do on horror. That's what I do on Horror with There's 30 because it'll be me. Well, my one friend James, he's my co-host, but we always invite like, hey, if you want to come on anytime that we're recording for a regular review,
no, I love watching you.
Come
I
on,
love watching you
because it's fun to get those other ideas in there. Or if you don't want to come on camera, come in the comments and spread your love in the comments. But the funny thing is though, is so it's me, my friend James, friend Chris, and friend Ibrahim. We have another show called Popcorn and Pints, very similar to this. It's just non-horror movies that we review.
Oh, okay.
Hence tonight, Ibrahim, he's creating a film. Title's not out yet, but he's creating a film, so he's taking a little break from the pod to work on that, which I understand. Tonight we are reviewing Rocky and The Notebook.
I like The Notebook. That gets me. That's a good movie.
I watched it earlier today for the first time. And so, like I was telling you earlier, how I have a wheel for this show, a horror wheel. On that show, we have multiple wheels. We have a wheel that spins, which if you are free tonight, 9:00 Eastern time, at some point you'll see it in the episode. But we have a wheel. We spin that wheel to pick what wheel. And I know we have let me see if I can remember all the wheels' names. We have one wheel. It's called the OG wheel because that was like the original wheel we started with. It's called the OG wheel. We have a chicks picks, which is what our significant others picked. They're not all girly movies. It's just what they picked. And we got the chicks picks wheel and Rocky. And The Notebook.
Rocky was a good movie. Rocky was a good movie.
It was. So we have the chicks pick wheel. We have the OG wheel. We have a wheel called Cheese and Crackers. And we have another one called Chicken and Grits. I'm going to explain this for the people that don't know our sense of humor. So there's 4 of us, 2 black, 2 white. Cheese and crackers, white. Chicken and grits, black.
I knew exactly where you was going. You said the chicken and grits.
Yeah, just make it fun and funny, and that's just how our sense of humors are. Like off camera, we're a lot worse.
Like we all grew up on South Park. I really don't understand the generation offended. Like it's like you almost can't say nothing anymore, and it just takes away the fun of the cultural experiences that we all are going through as Americans.
I'll put it to you guys like that. I'll still say certain things that I say even live. I'll tone certain things down because I know there is certain things that do offend people, which I get. I do 100% get that, but at the same time, I just wish that my whole thing is like everybody wants to create it equal, right? So when we crack jokes, I'm saying crack jokes, not being offensive, not trying to oppress anybody. I feel that should be across the board as well. Like if you can do it tastefully, if you can do it funny. Fun to me, funny's funny. Like I don't get offended if I hear a black joke as long as it's told funny. For race jokes, I tell them. But
I've heard some. I mean, like again, but in the '80s and '90s when George Carlin used to do it, Eddie Murphy, Raw, Richard Pryor, they all was tasteful but funny. I mean, it's just something relatable, and it's just like a perspective thing. I just feel like today society, you can't really have any conversations or really poke fun at anything now, and it just kind of makes it more awkward to talk to somebody outside your culture down because you are afraid that you might say something that might offend them, and it kind of makes the conversation more awkward now, more than before. I don't know. It's more of a slippery slope now.
It's one of those things. The way I look at it, as far as when it comes to like creating art, like movies and all that stuff, if you feel like this movie is offensive or it bothers you, change the channel, turn it off, don't watch it. Same thing with this podcast. If you feel like it's offensive, you don't like it, watch another one, listen to another. I'm not offended, but like I don't care. I'm not offended by that. I understand.
It's the equivalent of stepping on dog shit knowingly. Like you see it, but you still step on it.
Yeah,
whether you can walk around it. And that's the thing. Like I see something I don't like or something that bothers me, I don't try to boycott nothing. I just would simply move on and just log off my day.
I mean, of course, if it's to a serious matter, then I understand that. But when it's just like moving,
right. I mean, there are some things that are kind of, but again, freedom of speech, in a sense, that was the reason why there's an amendment, number one, for that, because it was not designed to protect popular speech. It was designed to protect unpopular speech. And again, whether the joke is uncomfortable or distasteful, again, if I don't like it, I would simply just change the channel.
I agree. See, here, I have two things with that. I agree with that 100%. And then I also feel like, yes, there's freedom of speech, but there's also consequences to certain things that, like,
oh yeah, definitely.
Not even like joke wise. Let's just say if it's somebody out and about, let's say like for the whole race thing, like somebody being significantly very racist, saying certain things to people, which we've all heard growing up, especially. If they get punched in the mouth, you got punched in the mouth for running, you know what I mean? Some people can walk away. Like I'm the type of person nowadays, I'm not going to knock you out. I'll walk away, but I have a lot of Caucasian friends that they don't find that funny at all. They're just like, I'm going to handle it. And it's one of those things where it's sad to say that you're used to hearing these, like when people, I don't have it now, of course, but I'm saying like, it's sad to hear that I'm used to this. Just ignore it. They're only talking. They're not threatening. They're not, coming towards us. So just ignore it. Bunch of cowards just doing that. But other than that, it's just like, come on. Like, again, that's why I said, if you're not trying to personally offend somebody, like, hey, this is what I feel about you. This is what you are. And I mean that as far as like, their sexual orientation, their race, whatever. This is what you.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, because again, I've heard some really stupid things said to me. But instead of getting mad, it more was like, it made me do an Owen Wilson take. Wow, like that came out of your mouth. That's stupid. And I guess I kind of more laughed in their face rather than letting them really upset me. But again, everybody's different, and I can see, like how you said, how that can be a slippery slope.
It's growth too, though, because like, for example, like I told you guys, I'm 35 now. Back when I was 18, you say something crazy like that, I'm gonna knock your head off. At 35, I'm gonna walk away, and I'll even say maybe 16, 17, 18. But like for me, which I'll make this one short, but for me, like my father is, I think 78 now. He grew up in the South. He's from North Carolina, and he grew up in the South. And he was in his teen, at 20. He's been up here since he was about 20, 21-ish. But what he's seen, what he had to deal with from me growing up, what I seen, what I had to deal with was nothing compared to it. So
nothing compared.
Definitely kept me like calm in the sense of not going over the edge too much to where I'm going to get myself in like legal trouble for certain things. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to let you talk down to me, but I'm going to find better ways than throwing my fist to say something to you or, to get my point across.
Oh, yeah. See, I think the biggest problem in America right now that I see, I just don't think we've really truly had a really heart-to-heart conversation about all minorities in general and the things that, just kind of was like throughout history. You had the 60s, the civil rights, then racism was over. I don't think that it's a lot of people to truly put themselves in other people's shoes to know what it's like to be a white person or to be a black person or to be a Muslim or to be a Mexican or to be a Cuban. But nonetheless, though, what I think will bring us more together is that to realize that we're all a culture of people, and we're all a culture of immigrants. We all descend somewhere else. And I think that's kind of the thing. I think it's like too much and separating, but I think we have a lot more in common than we think, and I think that's the things I like to focus on, because I have friends of different cultures, different sexual orientations, and when we get along just fine. But it's some of the things that unite us rather than things that divide us, and I think it's all about how you choose to look at it.
Same here. And with those same type of friends I have, crack all those, I guess you'd call them inappropriate jokes. I call them funny still. But it's just like, and again, this is with people that you're cool with, that you're friends with, that you're making these jokes back and forth. It's not you're just making these jokes just to make these jokes, because you don't know certain people that way. I will say this though, white people, and I'm sorry for this, I'll finally apologize. What I used to do back when I used to work at like in retail and stuff like that, probably even after that and definitely before it, but just tell a wild, crazy race joke in front of, like, it would be like somebody that I met and just talked to a few times at work or whatever. And they would just stand there. Like, you could tell they want to laugh, but they're like, is he going to hit me if I laugh? And
right.
Like,
but that's kind of the problem today, is like, it's kind of a double standard with that, because if like Richard Pryor or another comedian was to say a joke against white people, we'd all be laughing hysterically. But if a white comedian says a joke about black people, then he's automatically racist. I think that is kind of creating the tension in America now. And there's so many double standards everywhere. And, you know, it's just like, I feel like that's creating more tension, because one can do it over the other, and then you're having, well, look at that, they do this, and then the other side is doing, well, they're doing that, and it's just like, I mean, you're seeing that even in politics, like, it's just so many double standards, and that's no matter what the person that's done something, they're like, well, 4 years ago you all did it, and it's kind of that saying, it's like, can we just come to agreements that was wrong and move on from that?
Yeah, I do agree with you. And as far as like jokes like that with the comedians, like you were saying, like if Richard Pryor tells a white joke or if a white comedian tells a black joke, I feel like if it's done right, especially, here's my thing too, like if it's done right to where, I'll use a great example, like a Gary Owen, he grew up in that type of environment of like, you know what I mean, around, or somewhat, he liked that environment. He like he grew up with the hip hop stuff, so that's what he knows.
Right.
Love and because it's not like he's not going out here saying N-word this, N-word that. It's more of, well, one, he doesn't say it, but it's like he tells, like, you know, when I'm out with my black friend, blah 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 blah, and I get that, and I'm just like, yeah, we do that. And it's
right.
And then he'll also, you know, I like the ones that can go back and forth. Like they'll talk about themselves as far as their own race, and then talk about another race, but they'll always go back to their own, which I feel like is the best ways as far as comics go. For me, I love the ones that can tell a story. Like
that's why I love Richard Pryor, without a doubt.
Yes. Eddie Murphy's another one that does it.
Yeah.
And Kevin Hart
is like today. Kevin Hart is the 21st century. I feel like he's really, really funny.
He's hilarious. Yeah. And again, it's because he tells stories, not jokes. I'm not saying that you can't tell jokes. I'm not saying they never tell jokes, but when you tell a story, because it's way more relatable, then you could really laugh at it. Because if it's those stories where it's any race comedian that they're just talking about like a certain area they grew up in, and then tight finances. Most can relate to that right there. And then you're just like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, yeah, I've been through these things too, and it's hilarious. Like, looking back at it now, it's funny. As a kid, it was just like, oh, it was normal, because basically, you know, everybody that grew up around you for the most part was the same way. But it still kind of sucks, blah, blah, blah. But you look back at it and laugh, you're like, you know, I respect those days, because if I ever had to live that, I know I can survive that because I've already been through it. But I don't know, man. People got to learn. I feel like people need to learn how to take things less serious. Focus your attention on things that are a lot more important. Don't worry about what somebody tweeted 10 years ago, trying to get them canceled. Let's worry about what we can do for the future to make it, you know, better for everybody. Let's stop looking in the past. Because
the truth is, we all have said and done things that we wish that we can take back, and I don't think it's fair to cancel somebody over something they've done that they most likely are, I'm sure, are probably sorry for over 10, 15 years ago.
And on top of that, again, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, there's different times where, not that it was right. I'm not going to say that it was right for certain things that were said or done, but just in that time period, it was, I'll say this in quotes, it was just accepted more. I'll say that.
Well, that, but we all go through periods in time in our lives where we might feel this way, and then 10 or 15 years later, you evaluate and change your views. I mean, that is human nature. Where I've been 5 to 6 years ago, I don't think like I was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Which is nope. If I'm put it to you like this, if you're the same person you were 5 years ago and didn't make any changes, you need to reevaluate.
Mm-hmm.
And I say 5 because a year, 2 years might not be enough time, but 5 years, it's like that middle mark of like, okay, something has to change. I have to grow. And then another 5 years later, you got to grow even more.
Oh yeah, man! I really hate to cut this short. My dog is like going nuts. I don't know what he's barking at. I don't know if you hear her.
I don't, but yeah, that's perfectly fine.
I was kind of getting worried. I know you see me looking around, but my wife and kids went to the store so I could be in this interview. But I just want to make sure my dog's okay.
No, that's fine.
I was like, man, I really don't want to cut it because I could talk about this forever. I love, honestly, conversations we're talking about is stuff I love talking about. But it's like when I hear my dogs, I'm like, like.
I get. It's like when you hear your kids, you're just like, "What the hell?"
My dogs are my kids, and then I know today was like 81 degrees, and they ain't been out all day, but they've been out like a couple hours. And I'm like, are they barking because they're thirsty? Are they hungry? And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy where I was like, man, I hope people don't hear that dog barking. We definitely got to do this again because again, by the time we talk again, I know there'll be so much more things that, of course, I can talk about. There was a lot of mentions that I wanted to mention on this show, but of course, still waiting on some contracts and stuff to be signed. And I don't like talking about things that have not been contracted because superstitious like that. But I was excited about to talk about Rocky Gray and just how excited I am about making this movie Locked In and really going there to really create a powerful story about women bravery and just some of the actresses I've got lined up for this project that's going to be really, really incredible. And working with Robert Mukes, I'm just very excited to be working with talented people like that, man.
That's all. See, I'm happy for you. I'm real happy for you. And I do want to say this really quick, Amber, if you're still watching, I want you on here again. Please. And Chase is going to be back, definitely. But we'll definitely be doing this again. And like I said, man, I definitely want to get you on for a review as well as another interview.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man.
Just anytime. Just hit me up. And anytime you want to do this again, man, let me know.
Totally. I definitely will. And thank you so much and have a nice day, brother.
Thank you. You too, man.
All right, bye.
As always, I'll see